मुझे अंधेरा पसंद है, तुम्हारे आने वाले कल की याद दिलाता है। I've thought of Dawn as someone who comes from a dark space with a background which may not be very known or describable, but obviously is quite an agitated and disturbed background. I also believe somewhere down the line, I don't know, we've never said this backstory of Dawn, but I feel wherever he's come from, there is this whole desire to be very stylish and cool about doing things, even as mean as they may be. And also someone who plays life on the edge. And see, all this is playing a guy who's very negative, who wouldn't bat an eyelid killing someone or maiming someone or destroying someone. But he likes the whole process by inviting the danger. I mean, I don't think Don would shoot someone at the back of the head. He would like any mean thing that he does to have a story to it, that he can narrate or at least enjoy himself. In a strange sense, he's a person who enjoys cartoons. And I kind of put that to when we had decided to make him fond of cartoons. We don't play it too, in the movie we don't keep on showing it again and again, but the references kept a little subtle that I find cartoons very violent and I find them funny. So that kind of describes Don, but in a very mean, dark space. Like if cartoons were dark and mean, that they're violent, and he finds it funny to destroy somebody's life in with a mean streak of humor. So I don't know if you have cartoons like that or animation like that, and he enjoys that. While and also doesn't do anything straight. He likes it to have a story to it. He likes to make it intriguing, and of course, physically, I think he must be very tough, and I don't know. I feel he'll be very agile. More than being muscular or big or strong, I think he'll be very agile. And whenever I do the action for the film, or whenever there is a moment that we can show that he's in a space which agility can be shown, climbing up steps or something, I try to do that. And also, because this is the second time I'm doing it, I keep evolving it as it goes, because all these things and traits that I'm telling you are quite imbibed in me because I've done it once. When I read it only, I get into that space. I have a walk for him, which is very ladylike, actually. It's a walk that a model would do on a ramp. So you have this really tough guy who walks like a girl, and I find that at one point of time I thought of making him even more androgynous, because that makes the person a little scary, because I feel if you can have this mix of masculine and feminine. So it's a lot of things put together, and they keep coming to me, and I keep on imbibing all these traits and keep putting him in. And in Dawn too, there's a new trait that maybe he has a weakness. I mean, he also feels a bit of love, and he's ready to take a chance with that also, And he would take that chance in a strange sense that he may feel bad that he may lose out on a love partner. But so that it has an interesting and mean and intriguing love story, he may even put the partner in peril or danger and say, if she survives, maybe then I'll be with her. So there's a whole, I think quite twisted, but I find him sexily twisted and very sensual. I like him to be, I imagine that he'd be a person who's dandy, of course, the way he dresses up and everything, and I like him to be very sensual. It's an evil of yore that you describe. Initially, when I started it, I thought of from Jungle Book, Kaa. I like the way the snake entices and speaks to the kid, to Mowgli. The S. So it's very mesmerizing, hypnotizing, and sexy, dark, not slithery. I like him to be a little more classy and clean. But all these put into together.
And you got two interesting looks in the film, the long hair locks and the shorter cut. How did the look happen, the long hair locks especially, and the D-tattoo?
The long hair happened because I think when we were thinking, where is Don 5 years later, He's run away from the police. Maybe he's incognito, or maybe he's in a different. And see, Don incognito would not be uncool still, you know. So, or maybe he's run away somewhere in the east part of the world. So the hair and the look is a little inspired from there. And Farhan was very keen that maybe I should try long hair and the beard. He thought the beard would look make me look a little tougher, because we wanted to show the physical prowess and show some, because Don otherwise allows his henchmen do everything. But we thought maybe, when he was rising up in life, maybe he had to do it himself. So we had those portions where we show him being physical in the beginning. Again, in a very stylish, fast way, not, long drawn out, in his Donesque way. But, so he said, grow a beard, maybe it'll look tough, so I did. And then we tried these hairs with Dilshad and showed it to Odd. And so we didn't know it till the end, whether it'll work or not. So I just put on this huge set of hair. They did what they call bonding or something, and I landed up in Malaysia. And I remember that, it was very scratchy. So whoever would sit next to me, if it was Boman or Priyanka or whoever, I would say, please keep scratching with a piece of pen or pencil. And then there and then Raj, the hairstylist, he did something, and we thought that we'll not keep it one look. So for every scene, sometimes braided, sometimes long, because I don't know, once again we thought, Don would, even in jail or wherever he is, he'll kind of do something to his hair for lack of having anything else to do. So that's how the long hair came. And then, of course, in the second half, he comes back as Don. And we also thought, that because traveling over the world, must be having duplicate passports, different alibis, names, so maybe we should start giving him different looks, because somewhere Don is someone who gets into places without being recognized, though he's quite self-obsessed. I mean, where do you find a villain who wants to underplay it but has these one-liners about himself and taking his name every time, speaks him. Yeah, that's one thing about Don. He's immensely pompous. He speaks of himself in third person, कि Don के दुश्मन की सबसे बड़ी गलती ये है कि वो Don का दुश्मन, as if he's talking about someone else. So it's quite sweetly, I think, self-obsessive. So the hair kind of came around like that. And the tattoo was, I was just sitting with Farhan and I said, there will be portions in the film, maybe he'll be in a vest. And we didn't want him to be very muscular, we wanted him to be thin, like a little, how you see hippies. They don't have big muscles, but they are very thin, taut kind of body. So we thought we'll give it, and then I always thought of hippies having, tattoos. So we just felt, on the shoulder it's too done. So let's do one. What is something that he likes to hide, his identity when he's on the run? And then, in a strange, twisted manner, he puts the D here, so that you can kind of know he's Don, because he's so self-obsessed. And I think the D design you were thinking of, and the AD department was working on it. And I think somewhere near a car in Berlin, we saw a P, some number on a car or something P written like that. And we thought the top portion of the P was interesting, so that's how the D on the arm is.
How is Don's relationship with Roma and Vardhan, his friends and foes? How is that relationship?
You see, actually both of them fall in a similar category in a way, at least in the second film, or what he thinks of them. Both of them he has outwitted, and both of them he has kind of left in a lurch. Both of them hate him immensely. I think both of them, if they got a chance, would kill him. And in a strange way, like I said, that Don always likes to go back to danger and call upon himself danger and see if he can get out of it. And he goes back to both of them, and gives them another chance at trusting him or mistrusting him. And I think he's quite shameless like that. That he's like with Vardhan, I think he plays the game. He always believes that he can outwit Vardhan. I think he believes that Vardhan is someone whose emotions he can control. If he wants him to get angry, if he wants him to get disturbed, if he wants him to be fooled. And somewhere he knows that Vardhan is very transparently, he's a transparent bad guy, predictably bad, that, he's going to try and kill me. So he's always a step ahead of Vardhan. I think he enjoys the fact that Vardhan thinks he's a step ahead of him, but Don knows that that's not possible. With Roma, I think it has evolved a little more into some kind of a love story, because I think apart from the fact that he has really let her down and destroyed her life, killed her brother, killed her sister-in-law, I think he has a soft corner for her, because he feels that somewhere she is someone who's obviously after him, like 11 Mulkon Ki Police, and doesn't like him. But I think he thinks there is a strange love story between them. He thinks of her like a jungly Billy who's like a wild cat wanting to attack him and kill him, but some way that he can tame her. And I think when we played this film, I think he also has a bit of a love for her. Must be the only person in the world, and her and maybe his own mother, that he has a little love for, in a twisted way. And you cannot tell. I think even Roma may not be able to tell that. Does he love her? Does he mean what he says, or is he just being mean and meaner to her as life goes by? And there's a line in the film which I think kind of describes, though it's very difficult for Don to be believed when he says he's got a bad habit, because I think all his habits are bad. But he does say that Roma's like a bad habit, can't give her up. So he's got this whole thing that, he knows she's dangerous, she can kill him, but I think he has a bit of love for her. So there's a strange, twisted love story between Roma and him as far as Don is concerned. And then how Roma reacts to it is her character in the story.
It was a long schedule in Germany. It was extremely cold when we were shooting there. There was like a long schedule, a long sequence that we shot outside the Railway Banks at late night shoots. And you had to shoot it only in a t-shirt. Same with Priyanka. Must have been really chilling experience.
Yeah, it was very difficult there. I mean, the thing is, when you're cold, I don't know, it was -3, -4. It was really cold last few days, and they used to put the water around to make the steps wet. It was really cold. I mean, it was unbearably cold, especially for all of us, because we are not used to that kind of cold. And the thing was that when you're cold, you shiver. And here are sequences where I'm supposed to be like really cool about the whole thing, and and there's a portion where I think I'm carrying Roma. It was quite unbearable. The feet, we used to put the warmers inside those little gel packets and the pockets, and then I think we even I had a bit of brandy also, because it had become unbearable. And especially in that one sequence where I'm, I think everyone else very smartly got the jackets on. But that one sequence where I come out, and it's not a very long sequence. It must be about 2 or 3, 4 minutes in the film. But it took us about 2 or 3 nights to do it. And I used to be, I remember going into the car and I couldn't control myself. And I was hoping it would end in one night, but it didn't. And, there were times when I had tears in my eyes that I can't, especially there are 2 portions when the police catches me in the film, and the portion when I come out in the end of the film. And both places, the idea is that I'm actually very relaxed. And I know that everybody used to stand with a huge amount of, what do you call, blankets, and as soon as you finish, they should just bring it up. So it was quite strange. I don't know if you have the video that, Don is being cool and he's saying, yeah, you got me, and, I'm in control. And as soon as they said cut, everybody used to come and put this blanket around you. It was unbearably cold. I remember we used to put heaters outside the tent. Even as a matter of fact, we tried to put it while we were shooting the shots, next to us. But obviously, when you're taking the shot because of sound and everything, I did ask Nakul a couple of times, can I just keep the heater on? And we did, but it was unbearable, especially in this t-shirt and those 2 scenes. And there's one portion when I come out, and I remember there was like the moment where I just come out and do this, and I was like, and Farhan used to be very kind. And I was wearing warmers inside, but in the t-shirt you could not, because it would show. So that was extremely difficult. I mean, and it wasn't even very late at night, it was like 5, 6 in the evening, it used to get very dark. Yeah, and I remember when I used to go back to the room, you needed to just get into this hot water tub to get the chill out of your body. It was extremely cold.
And from the cold of Berlin, we moved to the heat of Malaysia.
Yeah, it was above 40 degrees there, and I remember I got all blackened, and then this long hair and this beard, and fortunately Farhan and Ritesh had kept a room with me which had a swimming pool. Because of the long hair, I couldn't even, it's not like you feel hot, you get into a shower and quickly get back. Because with the long hair, I couldn't even shower on the sets or something. They had to quickly put water. And it's a fight sequence with a linen suit. So it's the worst combination again. it was again like, one didn't know whether one should, what do you prefer? Do you prefer Berlin? Or do you, when I was in Malaysia, I was like, oh God, Berlin was better. And when I was in Berlin, I was like hoping for some kind of heat. So we've never shot really in the normal weather for this film, at least not me. And by the time we moved to the city, then it was okay, it was interiors and everyone. So I think everyone did not experience that except me when we went to that first part of the film. and in the boat, and I used to get, my shirt used to stick, and the linen was, and the hair from below here, because they were not my hair, so they used to get matted, and they used to comb it out, and because it was action, so every time you fought, it used to weigh very heavy on you, and because it was all fused together, so inside I used to feel all sweat. And so there are portions in the film where I said, look, I'm just wearing the vest and doing it. So when I was in the jail, I just said, no, I'll wear the vest. I don't want to wear anything else, because it was very hot. And all the sequences in Malaysia are kind of action. So then I used to go back into my room, and first thing I used to do is take off my clothes and lie down in the pool, get my hair wet, and just sit before everyone came in for dinner and all. So that was a good thing. I had a pool on the terrace, which was really nice. And I hate swimming. So I hate swimming, and I hate wearing, I always tell everyone, like in Berlin, I used to tell everybody earlier when I came the first day, when I hadn't gone out to shoot, I used to tell everyone, death before inners. I would die before wearing those thermals. Here I was like, and I hate the swimming pool part of it. So I was doing both. I have to admit that finally I succumbed to thermals. And I think thermals are a no-no for a macho guy like Don, or even for me. I used to hate it. I used to hate wearing thermals, but I hate wearing thermals. I find it very unmanly, and to be wearing those things with those things to hang down. Or I tried to get some designer ones that looks cool, but let me tell you, thermals don't look cool. They look really awful, and to swim every evening, which I hate again. So both the times were quite tough.
And there are a lot of stunts in the film. Let's start with the car chase sequence. It's a pretty interesting sequence. So does Shah Rukh Khan loves to drive and drive fast?
Personally, I love driving, though I don't get a chance to do it in Mumbai anymore. But whenever I get a chance with my kids, I take them out for a drive at night because the roads are empty. I used to love driving in Delhi when I was growing up. And even initially when I came to Mumbai after pack up, I used to make it a point to tell my driver to sit back and I'll drive. I like driving. And because I've driven so much, and on Delhi roads and in Mumbai, I feel that I have a good control over cars. And I'm not rash. I can drive quite fast if I want to, even motorbikes, though I don't get to do it very often. But once I get into a car or a motorbike, if I drive it a couple of times, I think I have control over it. I'm somehow naturally inclined towards vehicles. I'm not saying I'm really fantastic at it. But I remember last Dawn, and even this one, I wanted to do all the stunts myself, when the camera is inside. And I feel if the director is sitting, then, let's all take a chance. And not a chance, I know I will do the first take a little safer. If I get more confident, then I will try it further. I learned also, I trained a day or two under the action team. And that's ironic because, everyone kept on telling the German team after my experience with Dawn 1 that I'm really good at driving. I'm a precision driver. So they took me there and I drove. And they said about Lara and Priyanka that they need to train, so they came and trained I think a little longer, and I was feeling a little superior. I saw them train, and I just sat and I did my training quite well, and they were still struggling with it. And also, to be really honest, they had more of these. They didn't have automatic cars. I had, which was souped up a bit, so it was a little more difficult for them. So I was like deep inside, feeling really pompous. I remember Ali was shooting with me, and he kept on. When you're doing an action sequence, the worst thing you can do is tell your co-actor that, listen, be careful, because you're all pepped up, and but you don't want to make the other guy nervous, and so you have to instill confidence in each other. So I could tell a couple of times that Ali felt the need to tell me, that, listen, when you're going to do all these stunts with me in the car, just go easy and stuff like that. And in his very controlled Brit way, he was attempting to. And then finally I realized that he was uncomfortable, and Farhan and me just turned around and told him, listen, he's a precision driver. He can never go wrong. And the irony of things is the first shot I did with 2 cameras, I went and banged into a car. And it was not such a difficult shot. Just taking the car and turning, but I don't know, I just went completely overconfident, or I just went wrong, and padam! And after that I remember Ali used to always be, bro, it's all right. His big eyes used to become even bigger. We don't need to drive it too fast. And I also remember all these German guys who had this conversation with Ritesh and Farhan, who was told that Shah Rukh's a precision driver. They used to also come in, don't have to go over 40. They used to say it very sweetly, and everybody was so tense. And I was tense. I was finding it really ironic that I had to, go in the first shot I did in the car after training and everything, being told that I can do it really cool and I'll do all the shots. I banged into it. So it's one of the things I'll never live it down. And I was so worried that the camera's gone, and everybody was very kind to me. But now they're not. Actually, after we finish the shooting, all of them make fun of me. That I'm a precision driver, and the girls especially. And so it was very, very embarrassing. One of the more embarrassing times I've had on a film shoot.
And apart from the car chase sequence, there are a lot of fist fights also one-to-one that happens during the climax of the scene. Is it challenging to do all those fights, do a lot of rehearsals and then do the actual?
I mean, yeah, it is, I think, and everybody was doing it. I think Nawab was doing it, Burman, myself, PC, we want Don to have a certain kind of style. So in the evenings, what we're doing the next day, we used to go and practice for 15-20 minutes at least. And obviously you can't do it as well as the experts. But I think it's important for a film like this that you kind of train before. Of course, we have a lot of duplicates to show it to us, and and it's always nicer if you can do it. It makes you, but you do get hurt. At the end of the day, it's it's very fast, and you're doing it with guys who are also new. So if Burman and me are fighting, we both are not expert fighters, so to say. So you do hurt each other. Actually, in attempting not to hurt each other, you do hurt each other. And though I must say the German team was fantastic. They used to always keep everything ready in the hotel in Berlin or in Malaysia. So we know that, and so organized that we're doing these 8 shots. So we'd go and practice those 8 shots. So you kind of are familiar with it. And the fighters they had are fantastic. But the speed at which this action is done is not cranked up camera. It is mostly done at real time. And you have to be very fast with it. So invariably you get bumps and bruises if you're especially in a t-shirt. Otherwise you can wear something on your forearm. But when you have to kick people on the leg, you're scared, you don't have the control, and you hit them hard. And so it is very strenuous actually. And the last climax bit where all of us are fighting. There's Priyanka, myself, there's a German actor, and all the fighters, and then Burman, and then Nawab. Yeah, I think it was, and Nawab is such a big guy. So many times when we are fighting, he would be really kind to me, and he wouldn't hit me hard. And if he doesn't hit hard, it looks like, So in that we have to redo it, and it's very tiring. I think the last portion when we were, I was also with those boots, and it was quite warm here, and the last action in the vault was quite tiring. And it's not like the bigness of the action, it's just that how often you have to do it, because at best you can put 2 or 3 cameras, but many times you have to do it again because it's not clean enough. And we wanted it to look clean and fast, to do it in real time. So yeah, it's very tiring and quite challenging. I've had my fill of action this year, so you do bruise yourself, and you come back home, and you get up in the morning, and there are parts of your body paining which you didn't even know kind of existed.
PC also did a lot of fight sequences, and you also gave her a few tips, to get the act right.
I think anyone's a good dancer and kind of flexible and agile. Can do film fight very well, and they're very conscientious actors. I think PC really train hard, and normally it does happen. When a girl is told to do action, 2 things can happen: that she can completely refuse and says, "Yeah, I don't want to be part of it," and you respect that, or depending on the story. Or the other part is because they are not so called upon to do action in films, they get very excited about it. It's like a new thing, It's like me doing a bathing tub scene, which I don't get called upon to do often in films. So it's that kind of gusto that you have, and I think she's fantastic because she's really good with dancing, and I think quite flexible and fit, so to say. And she trained a lot, and I was quite surprised actually that she would get things which I don't think I would have done, or even the fighters. We had this wonderful lady who was training her, and we used to train together before the shooting. We had made a space near the shooting set, and train her a bit. And I was a little worried because a part of that action is with me, and you're a little careful. I hope I'm not hurting. And like how Nawab is conscious with me, I'm conscious with the girl. So I should not hurt them. And in that carefulness, you kind of have to do it 3-4 times. But I was really surprised at the agility and speed with which she got everything. And I think she's got a lot of steel in her, to just go and do it. But there's a problem when girls who don't regularly do action or are trained to do is that, they don't make the face right. They kind of still look gentle hitting. And for that, I kind of taught her that, when you do it, you make a sound. And it also helps the fighter. When we fight, we take out sounds so the next punch is coming. Ha, oh, ha, ha. So you kind of have a count. You can even actually say 1, 2, 3 and nobody can tell. But you can keep a count so that neck, face. Sometimes when you do free fights in a film, we actually call out the body part that we're going to, right face. So the guy knows from the right the punch is coming. And you can't tell because it's so fast. So I kind of taught her that, when you hit, you go, oh, like that. And it was very funny because I didn't think I told the counterpart actor that, she's going to do this. And when she took out her first sound, it was, and it was really funny because, you had these funny sounds coming because I think girls are not used to making guttural, loud sound, like a guy. So many times, it actually became funnier to do it that way. But I think overall, when you take a look at it, it's quite cool. But I can tell some places where, it's ooh, ah, ooh. So I should not make fun of it. I think she looks fantastic in the film. But it was funny on the sets too. Hear these unmacho-like sounds while the fights are going on.
It was one of the shooting days when Boman had a lot of pain in his back. And you gave him a massage. And while Don and Vardhan were bonding off screen, the people around, crew, Ritesh, everyone was having a lot of fun. What all happened there? What was...
I think Bomman is a liar. What he does is, because he was doing a fight scene and he had been playing video games with us every evening and he was losing. And I think he just wanted to make an excuse that, he's injured. And he knew because of the goodness of our heart, we are going to be kind to him and I'll give him a massage. So I truly believe that all this was a lie because I remember in the evenings he would have a drink and, he'd be absolutely fine and fit and say, I'm ready to do everything. And the morning he would come with this back problem, unless he was doing something at night that we didn't know about. So he was, I think he was lying to us. And also because then, he can get the duplicate guy to do his action. So he's lazy. I think I realized it later that he was actually Don who believes that he can always fool Vardhan. But I think during the shooting and these sequences, I think he fooled Don throughout. So I have to find it out, because every time we sit down and he's a bear, so all of us love him, and we're very, very fond of Boman because he's the sweetest guy on the sets and he's the favorite actor to work with, I think, in Don or any other film that he's part of. So we were always being kind to him and, he'd make these excuses. Also I noticed even with the girls and all, I think to get sympathy, he would do this, I'm feeling very badly hurt, and he would act that he's done a lot of action and all the day before, and he did nothing actually. So I think it's a big scam that Boman has pulled off. So one place where Boman has really scored over Don.
So let's move to the music of Don 2. Your thoughts on the album as such, not specific songs, but the entire album, the sound of...
See, Farhan is very keen that the album of Don should have one genre of music. I don't know what it's called, funk, disco, funk, rock, I don't know what it's called. I'm not very good with music. But I know that he has this very clean thing that the film music should have one, it should not be a mix of songs, a romantic song. It's not typical. And also I think Don, somewhere down the line, when we did the first one, because it was kind of a tribute and, taken from the original one, we stuck to most of the situational songs that were there. Khai Ka Paan Banaras Wala and they're great numbers. But now when we've come to Don 2, I think more often than not, there was this feeling that, when the film is going on, because it's kind of a heist film, it's a thriller, will songs stop the film? So I think there is a whole effort here not to have too many set pieces in the film. But, certainly, of course, when Don escapes and, Don does some stuff. So like a film normally is, we've made a lot of videos of it. I don't know if we'll use all of them. When I say video, they're shot on film, but I don't know if we'll use them in the film or not, because whenever we try to do it, sometimes we feel it stops the speed with which this film is supposed to be watched. Because we want it to be very real time, that, something happens and everybody's quick on the trigger, quick on the run, quick on the, dialogue. Everybody's fast in this whole film, and we want it to look very smart, the whole film, very slick. So sometimes one does feel that the music, but music plays an important part. So most of the songs that you hear will be there in the background. They really add to the film. They're of one genre, I think. They're not like you have one disco and one rock and one love song or one ballad. They're all they're from the same family, somehow. And I think that's a plus in a way, because it keeps the semblance when you watch it visually. It keeps the film together. It's a similar kind of music. You suddenly don't have Indian classical breaking. On the other hand, when people will listen to it, they might feel that it is too same every time. But I like it. I think it's quite cool. It's more young. It's more with what I think the new generation may be liking. And it's easy on the ears. And it's not with a regular theka or regular beat that you want to make it desperately popular. I think it's keeping in the mood of the film. So it's a little dark. It's got little guitar pieces. It's got little, always bringing in the signature tune of dang, 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 dang. So it is, I would say the music of Don is more keeping in with the film than I've done in any other film, actually. I think I've done so many films, but we always decide that because our films are cabaret, we have different song set pieces. Because we've tried to keep away from there, I think the Don music is more in tandem with the mood of the film. And some really nice songs like Usha Uttap's Maya, and it's again at a time when Don is planning a job. So this whole thing about Maya hai and stuff is reminds you of the illusion of wanting money and greed. Then obviously we have Mujhe Pehchano, Palat Ke Aaya Hoon, Main Hoon Don, which is your signature thing. And then the song with Lara, which is Dushman Mera, Zara Pehchan Lo. I really like that song. I think it's when Don escapes and Don is back kind of a thing. And Dushman Mera with Priyanka, which is also, it's like a romantic song, but because you've kept the mood of the film, so it's like a passionate romantic song. So it doesn't go into territory of a pure Hindi film romantic music. So the reason the music is different, it's picturized a little differently than what you would see in a regular film. You won't have him singing and dancing in a garden, because Don doesn't go to a garden. Also, you are confined by the fact that you can't just, unless Don is doing play acting a part, you can't really make Don do the stuff a Hindi film hero does. Because first, he's not a hero, he's a villain. He's a tough guy. And as is, I don't think I look very tough, so I have to keep this whole thing of that. He doesn't break into a dance. So his dancing is also very, stylized, so to say. As long as he was playing Vijay from Don, you could say, okay, he could do a Khai Ke Paan Banaras Wala. But when he is Don, now that everyone knows he's the bad guy, I think there is a real men don't dance kind of vibe to him. They just move and they're cool about the whole thing. So we never do a dance piece. So I think all that actually, I don't think is a confining factor. I think is actually making a more, actually helping the whole world of Donism and Donesqueness to a level which is, which the film will go very nicely.
The film is also releasing in 3D. What's the thought process behind that? Why in 3D?
I think digital and 3D is going to be the future of cinema. As much as we may love the smell of celluloid and film, and as much as we may like 2D films that we have been watching, I think everybody is now into wanting to have an experience in those 2.5 hours. And we had the opportunity. In an earlier film, Ravan, where we got the 3D done. And while we were talking about it, when Farhan and everyone asked me about the experience, so I said, I think it's really cool to have an action film in 3D. It just adds a little more, viewer experience. It's a little different. You wear the glasses. And I was hoping that we'd be able to make Don glasses so everyone sits down in the theater and looks like Don. I don't know if that kind of marketing is possible right now. But I think the whole idea of 3D enhances the action. And then always, when you have a song or two in 3D, it's a very different experience. And because the film has action and it's very slick and fast, I think 3D will add a new dimension to the film. It'll also, the 3D sound design, I think, because that there's a little more depth of field or little things in the foreground. I think for action and thrilling car chases and stuff, I think you can add that dimension when you do the mixing of the sound and sound effects. So, and also because it's Christmas time, so we want all the trappings of an entertainer on Christmas time with a thrilling angle and 3D to be all there. And so I call it D2 in 3D.
If you were to summarize the overall journey of Don 2, right from the first time when you heard Farhan talking about the idea of Don 2 to now that the film is ready to release, how would you describe the entire journey?
I think in one word I would describe it fun, because I'm working with friends and it's a physically challenging film. Again, with the climates and the weathers that we have been in. when you have a film like this, it can really weigh very heavy on you. It can really weigh very heavily upon you because, it's cold, it's dark, it's action, and you can actually end up being really tired and bored with the film. And bored means not because you don't find it interesting, but because it's just so strenuous on you. Action films are. And then, like you said, an extreme climax, leaving your house and spending so much time away from family, and and it's difficult. But because this whole team of Dawn has become so friendly from the first film that we did, and we had such a great time, I think the first word that I describe the experience of Dawn 2 is great fun. I think it's one of I remember like every time we kind of had a little bit of a rap or an actor rap, there used to be this rap party. And rap party is not like some lavish, huge scale party where we are going mad. But get in my room together or whatever, and all of us just got together in the unit, get to go down to the bar and have fun. And every time you feel that, I wish it doesn't end. So you have another rap party. And it continues till we were in Mumbai. And the other night also, when I was shooting the last video, I told Farhan, I think we should have another rap party and call, because you miss each other. So that part of Dawn 2, I think the actual making of Dawn 2 has been an amazing experience, because all of us, Ritesh, Farhan, Lara, Priyanka, Bowman, Ali, myself, Nawab, Jason, the whole unit, from post-shooting, we had this friendship and camaraderie which kind of made easy look forward to the next morning. It was easy on all of us. It didn't seem like a strenuous task that you have to do. And that's important for a film like this, which is shot over 100 days. Second part is, when Farhan started telling me that we have to make Dawn 2, the three-pronged thing that comes in your mind is, one, where is Dawn? What's happened to him? I think what was important also to know whether Dawn and Roma still are together. Is there a love story between them? And the third part is that I think Dawn is a little interactive film where, in a way, you're challenging the viewer to catch him also, apart from the characters in the film. You kind of know, okay, he's going to fool us, but this time we will know how he's going to fool. We'll know his plan. So, because you have the same system where in the end Dawn tells you how he did everything, or will he get away this time? And even if he does, because he's the protagonist, will he get away from us not finding out how he did it before the film ends? So I think that interactiveness is very interesting for a film like this. So I think all those three elements were there when Farhan narrated. As a matter of fact, when I was hearing the story, I lost it. I'm like, Farhan, what is he doing? How's this plan working? He said, that's the whole interesting part when you see it visually. You'll be like trying to follow it, and you'll say, no, this time I know he's doing this. And in the end, we'll still be able to, hopefully, be a step ahead, not only of Vardhan and Roma and the bad guys and the cops, Om Puri ji, but also a step ahead of the audience again. Like last time, I do remember there's a little gasp that goes out when you realize, oh God, it wasn't Vijay, it's Dawn. But now there is no trapping like that this is Dawn. And now how is he going to do it? So I think we'll have a couple of places in the film where the interactiveness, the audience will get a little surprised, and hopefully in the end also. So these three qualities were there. And I think somehow all of us, when we were sitting and chatting post, sometimes we meet up and, and I think it's become a part of our lives that it would be really nice that we can keep on doing Dawn whenever we get time, whenever we have like, okay, guys, Farhan has acted in a film, directed one, Lara's done something, PC's done something, Bowman has done, I've done it, okay, let's come and make Dawn 5 now. So it's kind of a get-together piece. I hope the film does well. I hope people like it so that we get this opportunity, to keep on making this film in this fun language and quite unique, because I truly believe that, to have a bad guy sequel, I don't know if it's ever been done anywhere, in cinema, that you have a bad guy that you love to hate and love. You don't know what you do with Dawn, whether you like him, you don't like him. I was sitting with someone the other day, and I think they were doing an interview, and they kind of asked me, aren't you glorifying badness? And I'm like, yeah, and there's no glorification of badness. It's just the fact that, he's a character who allows you to give vent to perhaps your baser instincts. And we always like that, We normally put them in the category of the villain. And then we have a hero from whose point of view a film is always told. The good guy, the white guy against the black evil. And obviously, when you tell me a story from the point of view of Jay and Viru, or from the point of view of Rahul or Vijay, so his perspective will be, oh, he's a bad guy. But how do you do when you twist the film? And you say, let's make the film from Gabbar Singh's point of view. And so there are no excuses or there's no glorification. But from his point of view, the fact that he's doing it means he thinks it's right. For him, Jay and Viru are the bad guys. For him, the cops are doing the wrong thing. For him, the partner in crime is someone who is disposable and dispensable. So from his point of view, world is a different perspective you see it in, and that's how you should see Don. You should not think of it as glorification of bad and evil. You should just say, this time the camera is not behind the protagonist, a good white hero. It's behind the black evil guy. Like I tell Farhan sometimes that suppose we showed in one scene that he was really treated badly at birth, people would think of him as a hero. That he was an orphan and he was beaten up. But we don't want to have that justification or glorification. What we want to say is, okay, just here the camera went a little behind the bad guy and see it from his point of view. He's on the run, and people are wanting to get him, jail him, kill him, destroy him, and he's got to survive, like the hero normally does. So it's the survival of the fittest, and to be fit, he has to do things. So I think all those elements I describe as part of not only the film journey, I describe it as a personal experience also. That you get a little, though it's a commercial film, it's a cool film, and it's James Bond-like that way, or Bourne Identity type. But I do experience this. That many times, I've played a lot of bad guys. I've played Dar, I've played Bazigar, I've done Anjam. But when I play Don, I'm like, yeah, maybe I do understand the psyche of the guys who do bad things.
So, Shahrukh, how is you worked with Farhan before? It's your second time working with Farhan for the second Don. How was the second innings being with him?
It's fantastic to work with Farhan, and especially I'm working with him after he's turned into an actor himself. And so earlier when Farhan was directing us, I've always had this that directors are always very kind people. They're very loving. And I'm one of those actors who likes to be treated nicely. When I say treated nicely, I like to be in a space where it's not a job. It's you share a vision that you say, okay, here's the person who's written a film, and what he would like to do is, I'm the medium through which he's going to say a few things, his writing. So I want him to feel that I respect that. I want him to feel that if I'm not adding on to his vision or her vision, I'm at least maintaining it, getting the idea across. And I think that's what actors feel they do. I don't know, I feel that way, that I'm, as a matter of fact, really respecting what you want me to say, and I'm trying to be the medium. And that makes you a very responsible, you feel very responsible. It's not just my words that or my emotions, it's somebody else's writing, it's somebody else's feelings. And you're always hoping you get it for that person. You're not that person. But I think Farhan, becoming an actor, has started understanding that a little more. Because he must have also had places where he would be a little unsure of, have I got Zoya's feelings right? And you always have this responsibility. I think all conscientious actors have that. And maybe earlier, because he had not acted, though he's a fantastic actor, I think, because he's never acted before, maybe sometimes, the discussion, though he's very open and he's very forthcoming, you can talk with him. I mean, he's younger than me, but I do feel we are in the similar age group, so there's no having to beat around the bush to get your point across. But I think having become an actor, I think he understands it. There's a better rapport now, because he must be enacting it himself. And now having the confidence that he's already acted in film. So that one aspect, I think, which made it very easy now to deal with Farhan, that, Farhan, if I do it like this, in a second he gets it that, okay, here is an actor wanting to do it differently from what I perceived it. But because I've been an actor and done different things with the director than what she perceived it, it still gets the same meaning out. So I think it's really helpful. Second part is, I find Farhan, directors are excited about their films. They're very happy making their film. And Farhan is a boy director. He's like a guy's director, which is very seldom that I worked with. I've worked in more love stories and gentler films. So what happens with Farhan is that he's not only excited about the story, he, I think, has this not hidden. He's got this bundled up excitement for Don as a character. You know, he gets very excited that Don is so cool. You know, which I'm sure he's excited about all the characters, and he's worked on all of them. But somewhere, it has that inherent quality that how you want to be Don. So all of us want to be Don, and the director has got the same, and he's in the right age group. His way of thinking for a modern day bad guy. You know, we all love Scarface, and we love Carlito's Way, and we love Godfather, and so we all brought up in that. So there's a similar vibe to it, and he gets very excited making Don, and I see that excitement. He's bubbling, you know, that, you know, and little Don. And if you tell Farhan something, then I was thinking if Don could come up with a word here, and he comes up as if, you know, he's living with it. So that's really exciting. That I know. I think between Farhan and me, we really know Don. Somehow, that, you know, this will be cool, and, you know, sometimes I'll do something and he'll come and say, no, don't do that, and I would not even discuss it, because I know he knows Don as well as perhaps I think I do, and both of us have a director-actor point of view, so it's quite interesting, and somehow that feeling that, you know, director loves this character permeates through the whole unit, and kind of you can feel, like, I remember I've said this before, that once Omji was doing a scene with me, and he's not supposed to like me. You know, he's supposed to punish me. He's the cop who's been trying to find me and put me behind bars. But I think I came and I said something to him, you know, in my Don way. I forget the exact line, but I come to him and I'm giving one of my Don things to him that, you know, you can't do this to me, and, you know, whatever. I said something mean to him. And instead of like being meaner to me and telling me to shut up, he just looked at me and he says, you know, you're a face. He started enjoying me. You know, and he looked and he said, I'm so sorry. I started enjoying Don, you know, that he's so cool about the whole thing. So that was very funny. And it's the thing that I think Farhan has created, that he enjoys Don so much that when he comes on the set, everyone, even if Don is not in the scene, the way he talks about Don, everyone gets very excited about, and the film is a character-driven film, so I think it's important. So it's great fun, and he's easy to work with, and apart from everything, he's my video game FIFA partner. We're the world champions, crowned and uncrowned kings of the world. So for us, sometimes more important than Don is this FIFA championship. So, you know, we're really looking forward. Sometimes we have a small, simple scene, and we're like, look, just quickly finish off. We can play 3 hours extra of FIFA. And Farhan and me used to keep awake till 6, 7 in the morning playing FIFA when everybody's deep asleep and tired. So we have this. So whenever we think we'll make Don, if not for Don, we would make it for the FIFA championships.
So we will see Don again.
I'd love to do it. Like I said, you know, it's I think we should make a like a company or you know a partnership between all the people who have been in Don 1, and every few years I think we should just get together and say, listen, guys, we've not had a yearly holiday now. Let's go and make Don 3, Don 4, Don 5. I was telling Farhan the other day that, you know, maybe I'll be coming on a wheelchair, tung, 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 tung. You know, when I'm 90 years old, and I've got machine guns embedded in the wheelchair, how he takes it out, and Don still will be cool, and, you know, all his malls and girlfriends and love interests are on crutches. You know, maybe an old age home Don heist film.
Thanks a lot. Just last thing, can you say to the camera, Don ko pakadna mushkil?
Don को पकड़ना मुश्किल नहीं, नामुमकिन है. Don. Good evening, Mr. Malik.
Put your hands up.
अगर आपको सारी इंफॉर्मेशन सबूत समेत चाहिए, मेरे खिलाफ लगे सारे चार्जेस वापस ले लीजिए.
तुम्हारी तलाश तो दुनिया के हर पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट को है. किस किस से बात करूंगा?
आज ये सुनकर मेरी माँ कितनी खुश होती.
अपने हाथों से ही तुम्हें गोली मार देती.
मिस्टर मलिक, आप मेरी माँ को नहीं जानते थे.
Welcome to hell, Don.
मैं तुम्हें इस पिंजरे से आजाद कराने आया हूँ.
और इसके बदले में तुम्हें क्या चाहिए?
डॉन.
वरदान और डॉन दोनों बर्लिन में लिखे गए.
लेकिन वो डॉन के साथ
यही तो पता लगाना.
I'm just a big fan, sir.
सर बहुत शरीफ सा लगता है. Call me Don.
काली बिल्ली, कब तक मेरा पीछा करती रहोगी?
इरादा क्या है?
डॉन को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं, नामुमकिन है।